Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is 9:35 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and I hope that you guys are doing fantastic as we dive into an album that has been requested, suggested for quite a while, the pros and cons of Hitchhiking, debut studio album from Roger Waters, released in 1984. I've heard a lot of things about this album, and I'm really excited to dive into it. There's been a lot of suggestions regarding this one, but just to at least name a few of you out of the many: Bruce R., Ella Vitreni, YouTuber Now, Ariadne, we talked about this a little bit. Courtney Wallace, you said that this is your second favorite album of all time. Luciano Texera, The Garden Fix, Frugal Severin, Starless, David Chaplin, YT Kai, Master of Parsnips. And the list goes on and on from there. Mr. Bader. At least you were not promoted to the rank of master. Thank you so much for the recommendations and suggestions, everyone. I truly appreciate that. I've had this album on my list for quite a while, as there are many, many albums on my list, and this is now one that we are circling towards, and today circling within. I hope that you guys are looking forward to it. Hope that you're doing well, you're settled down as we dive in to the full album list, and I really hope that you guys are looking forward to it, hopefully as much as I am. Can I say that album cover? I mean, I guess I guess if you're trying to get a ride, that's one way to get the attention of those who are passing by. Anyways, I can't help but see that when I open this up, that it does have a concept here. So I'm just kind of curious before we dive straight into it. The concept was originally envisioned by Waters in 1977 and refined in the 1980s. In its completed form, it rotates around a man's scattered thoughts during his midlife crisis. These are explored in a dream journey during which he takes a road trip through California, commits adultery with a hitchhiker he picks up along the way, attempts to reconcile with his wife by moving into the wilderness, and finally ends up alone, but with greater insight into the common human compassion. Along the way, he also faces other fears and paranoia. The entire story is framed in real time as a fitful dream taking place, so that's why it has all the times in there, in the early morning hours of 4:30 a.m. to 4:12:32 on an unspecified day. At the end of the dream, I don't want any spoilers. Okay, that's enough. That's enough reading for that. I don't want to like spoil it for myself. Yeah, so that's actually really interesting. So the times actually line up. Imagine I'm not going to do a recording at 4:30 in the morning. That's prime sleeping time, and right now I need as much prime sleeping time as I can get with Liam involved. So, but that would actually, can you imagine? That'd be really cool, like doing the reaction at 4:30. If I had looked at that like ahead of time, no, I wouldn't be waking that up early to do with the video. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive in. Before we do, if you don't mind, just press that like button. Get it out the way. Helps a great deal. If you're interested, you can share the video, of course. But the Buy Me a Coffee is there. If you have a song request or even an album request and you want to skip ahead in line, that's one way to do it. Patreon for exclusive content. Yada yada yada. Without further ado, because we've done, let us dive into the first track, Roger Waters' Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking, which is going to be 4:30 a.m. Apparently, they were traveling abroad. Some tracks, not necessarily this one, but some tracks I will be letting go together because I see that some of them are like a little over a minute long and such. But let's go ahead and begin. And as always, my friends, this sip, just a little water today, no coffee, is to you. one chord.
We were moving away from the border, looking for somewhere to sleep. The two of us sharing the driving. Two hitchhikers slumped in the back seat.
I've already picked them up at this point, huh?
I sneaked a quick look in the mirror. She gave me a smile.
Oh, that smile.
I said, is anyone hungry?
Like a wolf.
Should we stop for a while?
I like the ominous tone of the guitar when it comes through.
So we pulled off into a lay-by. Her dress blew up over her head. I said, would you like to come with me? She said something foreign under her breath. And the sun shone down on her lovely young limbs. I thought to myself, she's much too good for you. I lay down beside her with tears in my eyes.
We're letting this lead. Sax, man.
She was impressed, you could see that she thought I looked fine. And when she turned and seen it, the resemblance between you and me, she just seemed like green light.
Drumming is... Okay. Okay.
So we went for a spin in the country.
Like the breathing.
To feel the wind in our hair. To feel the power of my engine. To feel the thrill of desire.
guess that's over.
And then in the trees, I heard a twig snap. Warning lights flashed on my map. I opened my eyes and to my surprise, there were arrows and knives in the front of the bed. Right in the front of the bed. Oh my God, how did they get in here?
What?
I thought we were safe home in England. She said, come on now, kid, it was wrong what you did. You gotta admit it was wrong what you did. You gotta admit it was wrong.
Okay. We got to stop it somewhere. Okay. The first track is definitely that strong setting the scene, let's begin the narrative kind of track. And, you know, even lyrically and musically, it's very sparse. But I love that ominous chord of guitar that makes its way in that first track. Every once in a while, it just comes in and you know something's coming. You don't know when, you don't know what, you don't know how, you don't know when or where. But you know it's on the way. And of course, by the time it moves into the second track, Running Shoes, then it becomes realized and it goes from there. But that first track does a really nice job of setting us up. And you obviously, Roger Waters, Pink Floyd, so you're going to get some sort of Pink Floyd action in here or something adjacent. And you definitely get that in the spacing of the music and the ambience of it all, and the way that it kind of moves, the way that it allows itself to breathe and allows for space. I like the ticking of the clock that comes in, you know, showing times moving forward, as obviously every track is a time. That was just a nice opening track. However, it's Running Shoes that, no pun intended, we start to hit the ground running. And I think it's interesting, you know, from what we heard of the concept, and already I guess the hitchhikers are there. I thought we were going to be picking up the hitchhikers, then yada, 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 and then we kind of go from there. But no, we're already very much in the midst of this particular plot. Running Shoes hits the ground running. The drums, the saxophone, and once again, that guitar. So on sax, you have none other than Sanborn here, so that explains that. The guitar is actually going to be performed by Eric Clapton here, and then the drums are Andy Newmark. Fantastic. Let me see if I can find that particular point or part that I wanted to mention. There was one moment where the drums, the fills of it are just intense, and then it kind of immediately backs off of that. The music in the second track really builds up, and you think it's going to go even further and explode, but it doesn't. It pulls itself off. It comes off the gas a little bit, and then it kind of starts right back into the song soft. That's a very kind of Bowie-esque sound on the guitar. How good is this part? And Roger sounds so good in that shouting, that intensity that he brings into it. He really feels like he's erupting. You know, sometimes you listen to a singer, and I'm thinking of particularly a singer of that will, you know, use more of a shouting, yelling kind of vocals, of course, in metal, rock, and stuff. But you can get that shouting, that sound without necessarily power behind it. And I feel like Roger does it with a passionate power behind it that maybe it's not as, I don't know, perfect as like a Halford or a Dio or something like that. But there's something very natural to the way he does it, and it makes it more human. And I think for a story like this, human is quite good. Right up here, though. Here, that's this, that, all right. Listen to the fill. Listen to the drums. That. I've always liked that sound. Whenever a drummer does that, when they kind of hit the ride and go into a quick succession with ride and kick, bat, bat, bat. Like, to me, that is one of the coolest fills. Simple or not, I don't care. It just sounds cool. And I love how the engine is roaring, as we learned with the Lamborghini, and that's kind of building up alongside with all the instrumentation, and then it stops. And I like how in that moment he's reflecting on, what was it that perhaps interested this hitchhiker and made her interested in him? Well, perhaps it was that green Lamborghini. That was a really great track, and the way that these two go in together, of course. But how much diversity you have in just this particular one, in the second one, than here. I like how we kind of get, like, obviously it's not Gilmore here playing, but in Pink Floyd, sometimes Gilmore will choose a tone that's kind of like that, like a little bit more on a, for lack of a better word, it has a country twang to it. So I like how that is brought back in from Clapton as well. Then, there's some of that going on throughout this track. Let's go ahead and look at the lyrics here. Starting off with, well, apparently they were traveling abroad. And they picked up some hitchhikers. Drilling sound. Don't go. Woman, wake up, you're dreaming. What? Wake up, you're dreaming. We were moving away from the border. What border? Have a nice day. His wife's waking up, or next to him, like, what? We were moving away from the border looking for somewhere to sleep. The two of us sharing the driving. Two hitchhikers slumped in the back seat. I sneaked a quick look in the mirror. She gave me a smile. I said, is anyone hungry? Should we stop for a while? We pulled off into a lay-by. Her dress blew up over her head. I said, would you like to come with me? She said something foreign under her breath, and the sun shone down on her lovely young limbs. I thought to myself, she's much too good for him. I laid down beside her with tears in my eyes. She said, and then it just explodes into the next track there. Running shoes. So I stood by the roadside, the soles of my running shoes gripping the tarmac like gunmetal magnets, fixed on the front of her fast binder face. I don't know what fast binder face means, but use your imagination. Well, it was the kind of smile that only a rather dull child could have drawn while attempting the graveyard in the moonlight. But she was impressed. You could see that she thought I looked fine. And when she turned sweeter, the reason between you and me was she just seen my green Lamborghini. That was... Now that I'm reading the lyrics, things were okay to keep things plaintive, but then she saw the green Lamborghini and things got better. So we went for a spin in the country to feel the wind in our hair, to feel the power of my engine, to feel the thrill of desire. And then in the trees, I heard a twig snap. Warning lights flashed on my map. I opened my eyes, and to my surprise, and there were definitely more lyrics after this, but they're not here for whatever reason, so I'm not sure exactly what it was. I think actually he said the next track, Arabs with Knives and West German Skies. I think that's what was being said there. All right, let's move on to the next tracks here. I'm going to put on the end of Running Shoes. We'll let it lead into the next track, which, like I said, is Arabs with Knives and West German Skies. And more than likely, I'll let that lead into the next track because these are both about 2 minutes long. For the First Time Today, Part 2, which is actually for the first time today, Part 2, but we haven't heard Part 1 yet.
It was wrong what you did. You gotta admit it was wrong.
Sleep, sleep. I know that I'm only dreaming. Through closed eyes, I see West German skies on the ceiling.
It's that clock again.
And I wanna get back to the girl with the rucksack, to feel her flaxen hair. I wanna be there. See the sun going down behind the Krupski works, on the outskirts of some German town.
Interesting sound here.
Thank you, Bart. This young lady and I will just finish this bottle of wine.
Okay.
It was kind I think we'll just say goodnight. Good night. Could I have the keys to 143, please? Thank you. Good night.
It's a really fantastic guitar, though. Like how quiet of a solo this is.
For the first time today, I held her naked body next to mine. In this hotel overlooking the Rhine, I made her mine.
So impactful.
Come with me and stay with me.
Hey.
Stay with me. 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 Stay with me.
Okay. These two tracks feel like very, very narrative driven tracks. There's a lot of space in here. There's a lot of like background talking and noises and sounds that are, of course, meant to kind of pull us into the scene. Not in a visual way, but it's supposed to kind of give our mind a visual to kind of go along with the music here. And I like a strong theatrical kind of sound and scenery that's built like that. I think that that works really well. The solo at the end of For the First Time Today, soulful playing from Clapton. I think that that was really, really nice. And of course, the big old saxophone riffs just pushing through kind of reminds me of, there's a meme going around, but the saxophone that comes out in Boys in the Hood when Ricky, remember like, and how powerful that is? It kind of has that same effect in the music here. It comes in sharp and it has a big emotional resonance, and then it's pulled back pretty much immediately after that. Waters, once again, is kind of going back and forth between these vocals that are full-throated and shouty and passionate in certain parts, but then pulled back into something very, very quiet, as if he's kind of having a soliloquy and an isolated conversation with himself. So it's really interesting how these two tracks specifically feel in the context so far of the album, in that basically the first track, narrative. The second track, strong musically. These next two tracks, especially since they're shorter perhaps, they've kind of acted further as narrative bridges to kind of pull us further through the story. Obviously, music is involved there strongly, but I feel like they're stronger on the story fronts in comparison. Like even like see how quiet and dreamy it is, and I love the background vocals that come in. Actually, we have kind of a choir of sorts. Perhaps I'm just looking on the personnel list to perhaps see who That's credited to. That's going to be Madeline Bell, Katie Kassoon, and Doreen Chancer, who are handling those vocals in the back. And I like that soulfulness that it brings into the music. You can really feel Waters' experience, of course, with Pink Floyd and what he decides to bring into this album and what he pushes further on regarding it being his solo material. And then going back to For the First Time Today, really like Clapton's playing in this one. I think he elevates it incredibly. The drums there. Great control on the drumming there and the snare bringing that up. Volume. Bum, bum, bum. I like that how it kind of sucks you in like gravity. Just bum, bum, bum. Like it pulls you into the music. I like that a lot. It gets you leaning forward here. It's a good 2 tracks. Let's look at these lyrics here. Trying to follow the story. Sleep, sleep, I know that I'm only dreaming. Leave her alone, get out of my house. Through closed eyes, I see West German skies on the ceiling. All right, he's obviously still dreaming through closed eyes. And I want to get back to the girl with the rucksack to feel her flaxen hair. He's in those dreams. You know when your dreams like keep moving and changing scenes? Something like that is kind of happening with him right now. He wants to be, he wants to go back to where he was dreaming before, but he got pulled into another place. I want to be there, see the sun going down behind Krupp Steelworks on the outskirts of some German town. Guten Abend, meine Damen und Herren. Willkommen in Konsberg. Wollen Sie tanzen mit mir oder trinken Bier? Would you like to drink some beer? Good afternoon. My name is Heron. Welcome to Konsberg. And would you like... I'm guessing... Would you like what do you want to what would you like to see, and do you want to drink beer? Let's see. Good evening, my ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Konigsberg. Would you like to dance with me or drink beer? I was 30% right. Thank you, but this young lady and I will just finish this bottle of wine. It was kind of you, but I think we'll just say goodnight. Leave us alone. He's trying to get back to where he was. Could I have the keys to 143, please? There you are. Thank you. Good night. Hello. Yes, I'd like to order breakfast, please. I'd like coffee for 2 and toast with marmalade. No. Marmalade. Okay. Man escapes with his newly found girlfriend in Germany. Check into a hotel. They're drinking, and they go up to their room. All right. So we're on it. For the first time today, I held her naked body next to mine in this hotel overlooking the Rhine. I made her mine. Come with me. Stay with me. Please stay with me. Stay with me. What is it? Stay with me. No, stay with me. Forget it. He's getting pulled back and forth between his dreams, in which he's with this other girl, and his real life, in which he's with his wife. He's getting pulled back and forth. His wife's trying to wake him up, and then she's like, whatever. She's like, forget it. And you go back to sleep, basically. Let's move on to the next track here, which is going to be Sexual Revolution. We get to the end of part 2. Here we go. You know how to make an impact, I'll tell you that.
Hey, girl, take out the dagger and let's have a stab at the sexual
No how.
revolution. Hey, girl, let freedom for all be our rallying call. Tomorrow let's make our new resolution. Yeah, but tonight let's still walk under your sweet grave.
You know about that anthem shouting he has?
Only the whole could be saved.
Like a hammer. Those piano deep chords.
Hey, girl, as I always say, free. So, please hold my hand as we wander through the maze. And remember, nothing can grow without rain.
Get some high notes. That's that blues coming through. Shoe-ups. Not over yet.
I just cowered in the corner.
See, now that's the explosion that the previous two tracks were building up to. They were building up narrative especially, and this is the release. This is, I'm going to say it again, but Clapton obviously is kind of a centerpiece here. Alongside with Waters, they both build each other up. Like, it's like they're constantly leapfrogging one another until that glorious explosion that is just like this big firework going off. I love the heavy piano chords that are also being used here. I didn't mention who's playing piano here. That's going to be Michael Kamen. His last name looks familiar. Or maybe it's Kamen. His name just looks really familiar. Michael Kamen. Began his work as pop and rock arranger of Pink Floyd, of course, Roger Waters. He's best known for scores including Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, Brazil, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, The Iron Giant, X-Men. Wow. Okay, so he has a long and storied career and great experience. But I love the way that those deep piano chords come in. And kind of like the guitar chords in the first track, they just act as this momentary heaviness and weight that it's foreboding. It lets you know that something's coming, and you don't know when, you don't know how, but it's going to drop, and when it does, it's going to leave a crater in its wake. And I love, once again, the bringing together of kind of all the elements that were kind of brought in previous tracks, but now this is kind of the sum of all those parts. The background singers, once again, are coming in here gloriously. Like I said, the heaviness of the piano, the guitar, into a very fulfilling solo here. Clapton is really pulling it off, and I like how there's that blues touch. Naturally, of course, it's Clapton, but it's used as like a foundation, and then it builds off of that into something past blues and kind of expands itself. So it has a very progressive nature in a particular way in this track. See, like this, you can tell it's blues, obviously, but there's something a little bit more to it. And I love all the ambience that builds around it before this happens. again. That. Just like a cannon. Just when they line up and boom, just they, because in cannons, don't they like pull something sometimes? I don't know. Anyways, like, it just shoots off from there. That feels like the climax of this, at least, side of the album. We have one more track left on this side, but that felt like the climax. But there is one way to find out, but we won't find out until after we look at the lyrics. Hey girl, take out the dagger and let's have a stab at this sexual revolution. It's a funny way to say it. Hey girl, let the freedom for all be our rallying call. Tomorrow let's make our new resolution. But tonight lie still while I plunder your sweet grave. And remember, only the poor can be saved. Now, could this be a euphemism, or is he something else? Hey girl, as I've always said, I prefer your lips red. Not what the good Lord made, but what he intended. Hey girl, don't point the finger at me. I'm only a rat in a maze. Like you, and only the dead go free. So please hold my hand as we blunder through the maze. And remember, girl, nothing can grow without rain. To grow, you need a little pain. Don't point your finger at me. I awoke in a fever. The bedclothes were all soaked in sweat. She said, you've been having a nightmare and it's not over yet. It's like he woke up within a dream. Then she picked up the doggy in the window, the one with the waggly tail. She put him to bed between two bits of bread. His dream's getting a little abstract now. I'm sure there's meaning in there, but his dream's starting to get into that weird, uncanny valley phase. And he awoke in sweat, but says the dream's not over yet, or this nightmare's not over just yet. You still got a ways to go. So let's go into the next track, The Remains of Our Love. Whoops, I just closed it. Here we go.
I just cowered in the corner, my pajama coat over my head, and she smiled as she finished her sandwich. And her cold eyes fixed me to my dark history. As she brushed the remains of our love from the bed.
What could those remains be?
And when she had turned back the covers, when all of the prayers had been read, she said,
Come on over here, you silly boy, before you catch a death of cold. I was only joking.
Good prank.
Let's leave behind a city grind that's not competing. Could be fine in the country.
It's that time signature.
Could we go? Come on, let's go.
I said, okay. Where would you like to go, darling?
Vermont, Wyoming.
Anywhere. The highway.
Which way is well?
Some quiet music coming down.
I'm not joking. Let's see how all of those pass on the way to our beloved country.
It's 9 seconds. You never know if there's going to be some sort of twist in the last few seconds, especially with an album like this. Okay, so it seems like it's going in a good direction, at least at this particular point. Ending this particular side of the album, it seems like he's found himself in a good place. They're about to take a little road trip. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. This is the perfect cool down off of the previous track, off of something so energetic and ecstatic. This is a nice come down, definitely remaining firmly in a blues form here. Some nice tickling of the keys, some nice guitar from Clapton just to kind of bring things down again. And like that's really it. There's not too much to this track. This is definitely a narrative cool down coming off the previous one. Feels good. It's nice. It's calm. It's peaceful. It's relaxed. It's fine. You know, it just kind of works off the back end. I just cowered in the corner, my pajama coat over my head, and she smiled as she finished her sandwich, and her cold eyes fixed me to my dark history as she brushed the remains of our love from the bed. And when she had turned back the covers, when all the prayers had been read, she says, "Come on over here, you silly boy, before you catch your death of cold. I was only joking. Let's leave behind the city grime. Let's not compete. It could be fine in the country, couldn't it, though? Come on, let's go." I said, "Okay." "Jade, are we going to go now? Where would you like to go, darling? Vermont, Wyoming?" "Wyoming, huh? Children." "What? We're going to Wyoming." "Which way's Wyoming?" "Hook or right here. You're going the wrong way." "I know that. I know, children. Let's see how many Volvos we pass." Gonna play Punch Buggy. "On the way to our new life in the country. 1. Jade, don't do that. That's really negative." Okay, so they're just going on a family trip. Okay, so I'm assuming, unless the dream is not quite over, so their children, Justin, good name, and Jade, and then the wife and husband. Okay, I got it. They're just going on a family trip. Like I said, unless there's something behind this that I'm missing. Let's see. Wakes from his dream in shame. His wife forgives him. The family decides to move to the country. Kind of a split-second decision, unless they've been building up to that. Hopefully they've, looked at housing and perhaps got a job landed already. Like, hopefully they're prepared to make this move. Let us move on into the second side of the album, beginning with the first track, 4:50 a.m. So 3 minutes have passed. Well, I guess 3 minutes of the track duration. Go fishing. Just a good. What's the first thing you do when you move to the country? Just go fishing. This is also the longest track on the album. That's fishing music. Oh yeah. It's definitely fishing music.
As cars go by, I cast my mind's eye over backpacks and roof racks, beyond the horizon, where dream makers working white plastic processes invite the unwary to reach for the pie in the sky. Go fishing, my boy.
That melody's coming back. I heard it. I like how that returned.
We set out in the spring with a trunk full of books about everything. About solar devices and how nice natural childbirth is.
We're cutting down some trees, a trail of ideals through the forest glade. We're down up the stream and the kids combed their heels in the fishing pool with
his cub, whose mother was somebody's coat.
Okay.
You fed him by hand and then snuggled him down in the grandfather bed while I wrote. And we growled on maze, and I only occasionally went to town to stock up on antibiotics and shells for the shotgun that I kept around. I told the kids stories while you worked your loom, and the sun went down sooner each day. Chapter 6. In Gio's birthday gets 2 presents.
Like how the organ and clapping came in here strong.
The old grey dog stood by the side of the stream, looked at himself in the mirror. Pathetic, he said, that's what it is.
We needed Sanborn. We needed a little bit of that.
Good morning, he answered.
We needed that. So dramatic behind the sax. It's huge.
Oh, said Boo. He thought for a moment. Then the leaves all fell down, the crops all turned brown. It was over. As the first snowflakes fell, I realized all was not well and kept. The kids caught bronchitis, the space heater ran out of diesel.
Didn't prepare enough, huh?
One weekend, a friend from the east wrote his soul, stole your heart.
Hey.
I said, fuck it then, take the kids back to town. Maybe I'll see you around. Yeah.
This is the one. Said okay. See you. Sorry, the lap steer. Now that was a no. Now, that's right now the best track on this album, and I feel like that is the top of the mountain. That was so great in how it moves. It starts off in very much what I would think of music if I was thinking of fishing. I've fished like twice in my life, and I mean, like when I was a kid, I wouldn't even consider like I've fished, you know. But it was really like that twang. We're out in the country. We're just looking over the pond, the river, the stream, whatever it might be, casting our lines out, hoping to get and catch some big old honkers or whatever. Call them out there. And it begins in that very humble way. The lyrics reflect that perfectly, as you know, we're just adapting to country life. And honestly, it's a beautiful, humble life. Living is good. We practically live and sustain ourselves. We grow our own food and everything. Like, things are actually working out really well. This was a great move for the family. But there's those hints throughout, before we get to like the explosions, there's those hints that something's not quite right. Like there's something underneath all this. Like, you know, like a lot of horror movies now may focus on a family and they look like the idyllic family, everything's good, but then there's something underneath and eventually that seeps into their lives and then it goes from there. We're kind of getting something very much here. And the way that it reveals itself musically is harrowing. It is deeply thrilling because of how contrasting and heavy it is compared to the light, humble guitar twang and the good old country life that we were living before. So it really is nicely juxtaposed between the two extremes. And then eventually it all breaks loose. And, well, this family is not together no more. And what is there to say? Sanborn saxophone, just raw, just wailing with emotional distress. Clapton, whereas he was humble and, you know, having a good time fishing before, has brought a roar into this track. And then Waters, that final yell, he had to have hurt his throat in some capacity. He had to have like lost his voice for a little bit. That yell was extreme. And was just, he held it for a good amount of time, and you could feel that one. How I've been mentioning previously, the emotion that comes through in his singing, and especially in those louder tones, he shatters glass and shatters hearts in that one. That would be crazy to see and hear him do that live, recreated. This was a track. This is the best one on the album so far. I love how humbly it begins. Gorgeous.
Set out in the spring.
Everything's going good. Building tree houses, it sounds like back there. Like, but there's those moments.
Exchange bands.
Right? Foreboding. Eventually keys and the organ will come in as well, kind of hinting more. And then we're building. We're reading stories, but we're building. And even there, that's when things begin seeping through into their real life.
He thought for a long time. Then the leaves all fell.
But here, I love how I love how the chorus, the background singers echo F it with him. It's so funny. Can I say something that I'm kind of getting out of this though? So the dream that he had took place on a road. When they woke up, or when he woke up, they left on a road from the city to the country. Now that they're broken up and separated, he's back on the road. There's something to that. And I ain't talking, what's his name? Cormac McCarthy? What's the author's name of The Road? I finished Blood Meridian a while back, but I forgot his name already. Holden was an interesting character. As cars go by, I cast my mind's eye over backpacks on roof racks beyond the horizon where dream makers working in white plastic processors invite the unwary to reach for the pie in the sky. Go fishing, my boy. I like how, go fishing and I cast my mind's eye. I got you. He's casting it over backpacks and roof racks beyond. I got you. I see what you're doing. We set out this spring, like almost, it could be referencing Hitchhikers in a way. We set out in the spring with a trunk full of books about everything, about solar devices and how nice natural childbirth is. They're trying to get back to like just literally natural everything. Cut down some trees. We trailed our ideals through the forest glade, dammed up the stream, and the kids cooled their heels in the fishing pool we'd made. Held hands, we exchanged bands, we practically lived off the land. You adopted a fox cub whose mother was somebody's coat. You fed him by hand and then snuggled him down in the grandfather bed while I wrote. Can I tell you? This line right here, that's not a normal thing. seems unusual within the context of this particular part of the story. Makes me think maybe we're still dreaming. And we grew our own maize, and I only occasionally went into town to stock up on antibiotics and shells for the shotgun I kept around, told the kids stories while you worked on your loom, and the sun went down sooner each day. They're reading a little Winnie the Pooh here. Chapter 6, in which Eeyore has a birthday and gets 2 presents. Daddy, come on, Dad. Eeyore, the old gray donkey, stood by the side of the stream, and he looked at himself in the water. Pathetic, he said. That's what it is. Good morning, Eeyore, said Pooh. Oh, said Pooh. He thought for a long time. Like, oh, Eeyore's in one of his moods. I feel like I feel like this could be symbolic of where we are, though. The leaves all fell down. Our crops all turned brown. It was over. The first snowflakes fell. I realized all was not well in the camp. They were in spring, summer, whatever time. Of course, symbolic. Time of life was time of growth. And now, of course, leaves are falling down. Crops are going brown, but also was symbolic of things decaying, such as their relationships. The kids caught bronchitis. The space heater ran out of diesel. One weekend, a friend from the east, rot his soul, stole your heart. I said, F it then. Take the kids back to town. Maybe I'll see you around. I said, go to him. She said, okay. She said, okay. That's no problem at all. And so, leaving all our hopes and dreams to the wind and the rain, taking only our stash, left our litter and trash, and set out on the road again. Bye-bye, Daddy. You can bring Pearl. She's a darn nice girl. But don't bring Lisa. Are those the hitchhikers he was dreaming about? One of them, at least. Let's move on to the next 2 tracks here, which is going to be, for the first time today, part 1. And Dun Roman, Dun Karen, Dun Roman, Dun Karen, Dun Livin'. Okay. I see what we're doing there.
For the first time today, I feel it's really over.
It's hitting you.
You were my everyday excuse for playing deaf, dumb, and blind. And who'd have ever thought this was how it would end for you and me? To carry my own millstone out of the trees, and I have to admit I don't like it a bit being left here beside this haunted road. Lonesome road, lonesome road.
I like that little dramatic thump. We're at the bus station.
Hey kid, you looking for a lift? Get on up here.
Hitchhiking.
Going good, buddy.
I nailed ducks to the wall. Kept my heart in dark ruins. I built bungalows all over the hills. Done roaming, done caring, done living. Took my girl to the country.
Yeah, you did.
to sleep out under the moon.
Someone else took her back to the city.
Next thing, she's going crazy. She waits for the real Mr. Right to come, gently removing her heart with his promises of real communication. He's always picking up the tab of Billy Bungalow for his mama and dad. He took you out to all the shows and worked his fingers to the bone. Me, while you were asleep, I kicked you in buttons and bows, so you could encourage this creep.
I like how he's speaking,
With his
but like yelling in his mind.
feet and his clean fingernails, with his wise but twinkling eyes. He's a rock standing out in an ocean of doubt. I'd like to go with a spittle song describing the shriek. I'd like to go.
He got kicked out again. So can I tell you, now with this track especially, the album title is making sense. The pros and cons of hitchhiking. Like, there was some hitchhiking happening before, and I guess on one hand it could be considered a pro, and there was some hitchhiking now here at this particular point, and not you're the one hitchhiking, brother. Like, it's you. Okay. First of all, I love the name of the track here, Done Roman, Done Karen, Done Livin'. I think that is just really funny. The really dramatic thumps that we get into for the first time today, part one, which obviously is part one is later, and after part two, it's just funny. But I love when we get into this part. We get that kind of orchestral feel there, and it drags it into a heaviness, into a depth. And this is like him. This is him in the lull, in the void of loss, and she's gone, and everyone's gone, and he's just alone, trying to figure out what to do next. And it's hit him now. Now the true realization has hit him, and he is sucked into this despair. And that's the moment where it's like he feels his heart beating. Like, God, like, what am I gonna do now? Because before that, it's mostly a quiet track. Once again, strongly narrative. But when it gets to this, I love that. I think that's such a cool moment. And I like how in 1 minute and 38 seconds, it builds up to that, and then it's gone. And then we hop into the truck with the trucker, and we are hitchhiking now. In this one. And once again, mostly it's quiet with some acoustic guitar, quiet narrative vocals, but there's those little bits in here, and I love how the music accents a lot of what's going on here. So, that little bit of a guitar riff, as he's kind of, once again, reminiscing over her leaving and how things went wrong, and the trucker's just there trying to drive, and he's listening a little bit, but he's focused on the road. You get a nice kind of, I wouldn't completely say back and forth, because the trucker is kind of barely acknowledging him, it seems. But you do have the sound of the trucker in the background as Roger's singing. Roger's singing, rather. See, he's just yelling back there. And then eventually he gets himself kicked out. What a cannon shot at the end. But, besides a moment or two in both of these tracks, very quiet, very, very focused on the story, the vocals, and like I said, once again, that narrative here. Let's get to the lyrics. Got to go back to For the First Time. For the first time today, I feel it's really over. You are my everyday excuse for playing deaf, dumb, and blind. Who'd have ever thought this was how it would end for you and me? To carry my own millstone out of the trees. And I have to admit, I don't like it a bit, being left here beside this lonesome road. Well, maybe I know that she left with this other guy, but I don't know. Were you kind of not great yourself? Were your dreams previously perhaps maybe more than dreams? Hey kid, are you looking for a lift? Get on up here. How's it going, buddy? I nailed ducks to the wall, kept my heart in dark ruins. I built bungalows over the hills. Done roaming, done caring, done living. He's over it. Took my girl to the country to sleep out under the moon. Next thing, she's going crazy. Here's the trucker. Women are like that, kid. What the hell can you do? She waits for the real Mr. Right to come, gently removing her heart with his promises of real communication. I saw a program about that on TV. Ship, who's always picking up the tab, who built a bungalow for his mom and dad. Me, who took you out to all the shows, who worked his fingers to the bone. Me, while you were asleep, it was me, I did. I kept you in buttons and bows, Christ, all those clothes, so you could encourage this creep. See, I did everything for you. With his neat feet, with his clean fingernails, with his wise but twinkling eyes, he's got a rock standing out in an ocean of doubt. Trucker's not even paying attention to you anymore. He's busy with people on the road. I'd like to go on with this bit of the song describing this schmuck. I'd like to go on, but I'm going to throw up. And this is the funniest thing. The trucker says, nah, not in my rig, you don't. Get out of here. You got a few miles on me, but yeah, it's time for you to bounce out of here. Let's move on to the next track, which is the title track of the album. At 5:01 a.m., the pros and cons of hitchhiking, part 10. We are skipping around in parts here. There's that truck. He's out of there. He's gone. Hit that thing.
An angel on a horn pulls across to greet a fellow rolling stone.
Hey.
Puts his bike up on his stand, leans back and then extends a scarred, greasy hand. He said,
How you doing, bro? Where you been? Where you going?
and he takes your hand in some strange California handshake and breaks the bone. A housewife from Encino whose husband's on the golf course with his book. Breaks and makes a you and idles back to take a second look at you.
You bet your eyes.
Flex your ride. Fish takes a hook. Sweet vodka and tobacco in the breath. Another number in your little black book.
These are the pros and cons of hitchhiking.
Is this the single on the album? Because it has that sound.
These are the pros and cons of hitchhiking.
Oh, babe, I must be dreaming. I was standing on a leading edge, the eastern seaboard spread before my eyes. Jumps at Yoko Ono, too scared, too good looking. I cried. circles over.
The body on the plane.
Did you understand the music? Yoko, or was it all in vain? Fish said something mystical. So step back on the curb again. Whoa!
These are the pros and cons of hitchhiking.
It moves, man.
These are the pros and cons of hitchhiking.
Although,
Oh, babe, I must be dreaming again.
These are the pros and cons of hitchhiking.
get it.
These are the pros and cons of hitchhiking.
Okay, I see that there is a Wikipedia article for this track, and it feels to me like this is the single of the album. Like, if you were to take one of them, this is it. The music is jamming, it's catchy. The chorus, these are the pros and cons of hitchhiking. Like, and the way that it builds up around that, everyone gets down incredibly funky on this one. Because this is the most, like, danceable track as well. So that's why I feel like this would be a pop hit out there. And it still retains a little bit of the story, but, and obviously lyrically it does, but there's not so much, like, you know, for lack of a better word, background ambience of talking or, you know, soft vocals that are almost just there to move the story along. This one's very much diving into the more musical side of things. And it does so with kind of a, I don't know, it has a country twang to it with Clapton's guitar, and perhaps because of, you know, we being on the road and we are the hitchhikers now, it's kind of giving us that feeling of, you know, trying to move along, and we're transient here in this particular way. And I think that not only the rhythm keeps things moving, keeps bodies dancing, but keeps us moving as a hitchhiker, step by step, trying to hitch a ride. But then that country twang of the guitar, the styling there, also kind of brings that to mind, of course. Throughout the album, we've gotten that. But this feels like kind of the culmination of all of that here in the title track. Really great organ happening once again in here.
From Encino,
Let me get to this part. That. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Here. What's that organ rip behind that? See, like, that particular tone, when Clapton goes like into those higher notes, that's very country. And then breaks it right back to the danciness there. Now, lyrically, gotta tell you, I got not an inkling of what's happening here. I mean, I get a little bit of it. An angel on a Harley pulls across to greet a fellow Rolling Stone. They're both Rolling Stones in a way. They're both movers. Is it a Hell's Angel on a Harley, I'm assuming? Puts his bike up on its stand, leans back, and then extends a scarred and greasy hand. He said, "How you doing, bro? Where you been? Where you going?" Then he takes your hand in some strange Californian handshake and breaks the bone. "Have a nice day." A housewife from Encino, whose husband's on the golf course with his book of rules, breaks and makes a U and idles back, takes a second look at you. You flex your rod. Fish takes the hook. Sweet vodka and tobacco in her breath. Another number in your little black book. I guess. So literally, this track is the pros and cons of hitchhiking. One, he gets his hand broken. The other, he
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Oh, babe, I must be dreaming. I was standing on the leading edge. The eastern seaboard spread before my eyes. Jump, said Yoko Ono. I'm too scared and too good looking, and I cried. Go on, she says. Why don't you give it a try? Why prolong the agony? For Lar Magulis, all men must die. Do you remember Dick Tracy? Do you remember Shane? And Mother Wants You. Could you see him selling tickets where the buzzard circles over Shane, the body on the plane? I mean, we're getting references here to things that I don't know, I would assume. Did you understand the music, Yoko, or was it all in vain? She said something hysterical or mystical. Hero, so I stepped back on the curb again. We're getting something here. Released worldwide as the album's first single in '84, the meaning consists of the lasting memories of the main character Reg and displays the benefits and problems associated with his hitchhiking, both figuratively and metaphorically. He mentions popular figures such as Dick Tracy, Shane, and Yoko Ono. Who's Shane? A Western novel by Jack Schaefer? Never heard of it. Not that means anything. There's a lot of things I never heard of. Waters has said the inclusion of Yoko Ono in the song comes from a dream his drummer Andy Newmark had. And that's your single information. Yeah, this seems very much dreamy, symbolic. We're kind of getting his Dante's Inferno journey here with all the references to pop figures and different cultural icons of the time happening here. Let's move on into the next two tracks. We're going to let the last two play together on the album. Every Stranger's Eyes and The Moment of Clarity, since The Moment of Clarity is only a little more than a minute. Let me pull it back up here. Here we go.
Hello. You want a cup of coffee?
It's in a diner.
I'm sorry. Would you like a cup of coffee? Okay, you take cream and sugar? Sure.
And truck stops and hamburger joints and Cadillac limousines in the company of has-beens and bent backs and sleeping forms on pavement steps in libraries and railway stations and books and banks in the pages of history and suicidal cavalry attacks I recognize. Myself in every stranger's eyes
Finding himself.
and in wheelchairs by monuments under tube trains, commuter accidents,
I like a little fretless.
council care and county courts, at Easter fairs and seaside resorts, in drawing rooms and city malls, in award-winning photographs of life rafts in the China Seas, in transit camps under arc lamps, on unloading ramps, in faces blurred by rubber stamps I recognize.
That's a great way to wrap up those vocals.
Myself in every stranger's eyes. And now, from where I stand upon this hill, I plundered from the poor. I look well. I search the sky. I shade my eyes, so nearly blind. And I see signs of unforgettable days. I hear bells that shine in strange, familiar ways. I recognize the hope you kindle in your eyes. so easy now. As we lie here in the dark, nothing interferes, it's obvious how to beat the tears that threaten to snuff out the spark of our love.
Now that was a really great climax and resolution to the album. Really big melodies on that one. There's that tick-tock ticking again.
And the moment of clarity faded like charity does. Sometimes I opened one eye and I put out my hand just to touch your soft hair, to make sure in the darkness that you were still there. And I have to admit, I was just a little afraid.
Yeah, am I awake or not?
But then I had a little bit of luck, you were weak, I couldn't take another moment alone.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Roger Waters, the pros and cons of hitchhiking. We've been on a journey. We've been on a road trip of the soul. And we have a happy ending there. I love how in the moment of clarity, how obviously, you know, this is kind of the, what's the word? Kind of like the epilogue of the album. Because every Stranger's Eyes, that's like the climax. That's the resolution. But this is a little bit after. And I like how, you know, it's soft. It's kind of morning after. We're waking up with him again. And where are we? Are we still dreaming? Are we still within this journey, this whirlwind? Or have we finished it? And we have a moment of clarity. And I love that hesitation when, you know, with bated breath, we're waiting. Is he going to dream? Is this real life? Is she real? What's happening? And there's that pause. He doesn't reveal it. He holds it. And then he quickly rattles off that basically everything's fine. As he didn't want to be left alone again, and she is awake. And I like that moment. I like how it ends on a positive note, and perhaps with a note of hope for the future. But can we go back to Stranger's Eyes, because that's where the magic is happening. Stranger's Eyes, it feels like a big, brilliant fireworks celebration. It feels like everything is now lining up and going right. Kind of like, in a sense, with like how Go Fishing was so explosive, but in a different way, in a heavier and, for lack of a better word, darker way. With Stranger's Eyes, it fulfills everything, every promise made, except in a hopeful and positive manner. The background singers, the symphonic sweeps, Roger singing along with it all, the organ, the piano, the guitar, it all just comes together in this really nice summation here. Sorry, that was probably scary. That right there, when Roger sings heartfelt and wrenchingly so with the background singers, and they all just ride that note, that is such a brilliant moment, and probably the hair raising moment. My hair raising.
The hope, it's all.
This was really, really well done. And it kind of brings everything together, you know, from the despair, from the hopelessness, from the wandering that we were engaged in before. And this kind of turns things around. This is that moment of things are starting to perhaps go into a right direction and a positive direction. I think that was really, really nice. And the drumming is really nice too. It has a nice ambience to a lot of the drums in here. Let's see. That's like that right there. It kind of feels like the first step on the stairs that will lead us to that brilliant ending there. And I like how you get that little feeling. You get that little burst of serotonin listening to that, and then it keeps going. A little burst here, one step forward, and eventually, like I said, blowing up there in the end. Let's look at these lyrics. Waitress, you want a cup of coffee? There's some other discussion happening there. She apologizes. I'm sorry, would you like a cup of coffee? Cream and sugar? And truck stops and hamburger joints and Cadillac limousines in the company of has-beens, bent-backs, sleeping forms, pavement steps. He's finding himself in the low place. Libraries, railway stations, books, banks, pages of history, and suicidal cavalry attacks. I recognize myself in every stranger's eyes. Because he himself is a stranger in a way, not knowing himself. And in wheelchairs by monuments, under tube trains and commuter accidents, in council care and county courts, at Easter fairs and seaside resorts, in drawing rooms and city morgues, in award-winning photographs of life rafts in the China Seas, transit camps, under arc lamps, unloading ramps, and faces blurred by rubber stamps, he sees himself in every stranger's eyes. It's also hopeful in the sense of perhaps he doesn't know himself, but because he doesn't know himself, he could also be anybody. He can only go up from here. And now from where I stand upon this hill, I plundered from the poor. I looked around, I searched the skies, I shade my eyes so nearly blind. And I see signs of half-remembered days. I hear bells that chime in a strange, familiar ways. I recognize the hope you kindle in your eyes. It's all so easy now as we lie here in the dark. Nothing interferes. It's obvious how to beat the tears that threaten to snuff out the spark of our love. I'm assuming that he's with the waitress from before. And of course it ends. Then the moment of clarity faded like charity does sometimes. I opened one eye, like just cautiously. I put out my hand just to touch your soft hair to make sure in the darkness that you were still there. And I have to admit I was just a little afraid. But then, and there's a nice pause, I had a little bit of luck you were awake. I couldn't take another moment alone. And then that's how it ends. And I love how it ends on a, like I said, on a positive note there. I should have kept you on the screen. Let's see. For Every Stranger's Eyes, let's see. It was released worldwide as the second single in '84. Obviously, telling the story of how he finds camaraderie in the eyes of strangers during his travels. No chart information on this particular track here, but let's look at some of the info on the album now that we're here and we finished it. Let's see. We've read all that before. In '78, he presented the concepts and played demos of this album, as well as what was then titled Bricks in the Wall, to his bandmates in Pink Floyd, asking them to decide which should be the group album and which should be his solo album. It's kind of interesting. After a long debate, obviously they made their decision as we know it. Waters declared, well, the idea for the album came concurrently with the idea for The Wall, the basis of the idea. I wrote both pieces at roughly the same time, and in fact, I made demo tapes of them both and presented them both to the rest of Floyd and said, look, I'm going to do one of these as a solo project and we'll do one as a band. You choose. And it goes on from there. Guitarist Tim Renwick said, Roger's a very different sort of person from Clapton or David Gilmour. I have tremendous respect for him. He's a very clever man, but he's also very serious. When Eric and I toured with him, he wanted everything exactly the same as the record, which, unfortunately, kind of took the fun out of performing. I get that. I can see that, of course, both ways. When you're performing, sometimes you want to change things a little bit, make the live a little bit different. But I also see wanting to keep it as intended and as it was made. You can kind of go both ways there. I played through some of the songs from the album, Waters remarked in '92, and I was struck by how good they sounded. Looking back, that record dragged a little, but individually some of the material was excellent. Possible film. You have a lot of people also involved acting as the different characters in here. I think that this was a cool album. And I mean, if it's not obvious, my favorite tracks, I gotta say, Go Fishing and Every Stranger's Eyes. I think those two tracks are the big standouts in here and are, to me, the best ones on this album. As a whole, I think that this album is very well made. It's not my favorite. If I'm being honest, it's not my favorite album I've listened to. It has some really fantastic moments throughout, and it's really good to listen to from front to back. There's no doubt about that. And, you know, if you're interested in the story and everything like that. But there's something, I can only speak for myself. It feels like there's something missing for me, and I can't exactly say what it is, that doesn't take it over the edge for myself personally. Like, I think I want something. I think that, this is just speaking once again for myself, I think I prefer less narrative, because there's a lot of moments in here that are just very quiet and him kind of like softly singing. I want less of that, because that kind of sounds samey. And I want more of like the music, for lack of a better word. I think that's actually what holds me back. Like, I don't rate albums and such on the channel, but if I was to rate this would be like a 3 out of 5 to me. It's good to listen to, has some great parts, but also kind of, I agree with what Waters had said, in that some of those moments drag just a little bit. But either way, I think that it's a good time, and it's a fun time listening to it, especially if you want to go on that road trip of the album. You let me know what you guys think below in the comments. I hope that you enjoyed it. Hope that you got something out of this album listen. Thank you guys so much for the different requests and for all the suggestions for it. I really appreciate that. Don't forget to press the like button if you don't mind, just before you head on out. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much once again for being here. Have a fantastic one, and I will see you all later. Bye.